Hey, it's Tuesday night. You know what that means. Once again, we have concluded another stacked and somewhat surprising episode with some standout moments and performances, definitely for me, that I saw tonight, on, of course, AEW Dark. So welcome once again to another AEW Dark Simple Take. Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good night to wherever you may watch this. My name is Noah Foster, and I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of wrestling in the Dark Order. And I am here, of course, to give you my brief outlook, reviews, and takeaways of tonight's episode of AEW Dark. As this is being recorded on 9:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday night, May the 11th. I had to go back through and try and gather all my thoughts. 2 hours of wrestling and one drop line to stand out. It's gonna be stuck in my head forever. Freaking laughing. Anyway, let me see if I can stay on track here. And let's go ahead and get right into the show. So our show kicked off with tag action as the team hyped Milk Chocolate. They took on the duo of Eddie Kingston and John. You might as well just have Justin Roberts say the entire John, because by the time he would have said the John, the match was over. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston, they come in and clearly they have bigger things in their mind, other priorities, and this is just a nice simple day out in the office, that is the squared circle, that is the ring. As literally, as soon as he started doing his John, Moxley Kingston got Justin out of the ring, they went full on assault, the bell rings, and their tag finisher called the Violent Crown spelled the end for Milk Chocolate faster than you can eat a Crunch Bar, Kit Kat, and a Twix all together. Not much more to say. Again, Eddie Kingston says, you're going to have to kill me or stop my heart to stop me for what I stand for and stop me from carrying this company that you guys are likely going to take down, Young Bucks. And of course, John Moxley, he has the IWGP United States Championship match ahead of him tomorrow, and he did come out with the belt too. Quick, short, simple match. It's as simple as that. There is nothing else to say about this. This is on record to be probably the 5th shortest match in AEW history. I'll have to definitely look back and see where like Red Velvet and Hikaru Shida stand and a couple of others too. But hey, John Moxley, Eddie Kingston, real stuff. Gotta get it done. Moving on from there, we go into trios action. That was a bit more competitive as the Dark Order trio of Evil Uno, Colt Cabana, and Allen Five Angels. They took on Spencer Slade, Andrew Palace, and Cole Carter. Andrew Palace, of course, was at the mercy of Evil Uno in the early going, especially when Evil Uno stomped on the man's hands and it looked like he was going to go for something to take. No, he just gives it to the ref and then beep, pokes the man's eyes out. Then Colt Cabana comes into play, and Allen Angels basically have tandem tattoo offense, and they isolate Andrew Palace until Andrew Palace finds a moment to finally bring in Cole Carter, who tries to get a little bit of offense in, but it was Spencer Slade that really was the difference maker, as that trio did find an opening and put the match in their favor for a short moment. The speed of Allen Five Angels, I feel like at sometimes it's almost a detriment to him, because literally he rebounds off the ropes and almost misses his point. And this was the one moment where the trio, Spencer Slade particularly, he picked up for the team. But as we had tandem trios offense from the Dark Order, Colt Cabana with the flying apple, of course, to a Slade, the double Torpe Suicida takeout by Allen Five Angels, taking out the other two, Andrew Palace and Carl outside the ring. Evil Uno gets the tag in, and with a cross-arm flatliner, he ends Spencer Slade's night. And this very effective on-point faction, the Dark Order, the trio, they get the win. This was a good trios demonstration and definitely a good show of dominance and how well the Dark Order is on the same page and works together. As we know, they have the continuing budding rivalry, of course, with the Hardy family office. Anyway, this was a pretty good match, though. I enjoyed it. And as we move on from there, we go into women's action. Not yet. But Diamante brings us our first outlook into what might be ahead for her, as Diamante stands out in both singles and tags, as Alice Marvez was briefly interviewing her. But it looks like she's got a bit of beef, not concerned necessarily what happened to her last week. And of course, she looked for a rebound out of dark, but also she looks at someone else who really is making waves off a return after being gone for 10 months. And that is the alien Chris Statlander, where Diamante basically sent out a threat via communication, ESP, what you want to call it, and saying that she will send her back fodder, and Area 51 can send this extraterrestrial. So it might be a warning or a sign of things to come. Diamante, Chris Statlander could be a very interesting feud. or a very competitive match too. So be on the lookout to both the Galaxy's Greatest Enemy and, of course, this hot firecracker full of attitude in Diamante. Of course, both will be in action later tonight. Anyway, we may have a one-on-one out of this world coming up. That's really all I got to say about that from that promo. As we move on from there, we go into one of my favorite times when Lance Archer kills anybody. As Lance Archer, he comes out while, of course, Jake Roberts is on commentary, and he has fun with Angel Fashion. Angel Fashion, of course, was in a singles match here tonight, and Lance Archer, he wanted Angel Fashion to give him his best shot, and Angel Fashion, to his credit, showcased a bit of good offense until literally Lance dropped him with a forearm shiver. And then a chop concaving, what I'm pretty sure Taz we're talking about, can you like lose a nipple? Like, I guess you could concave a nipple. I guess that's one way to lose it. It was a weird conversation. Sometimes the banter between Taz and Excalibur is the best part of Dark. I gotta be honest. Let's just seem to have fun. Anyway, moving on from that spot, ridiculous chop out of the corner in Angel Fashion. He actually does get a little bit of offense in with a nice, neat follow-up out of the corner. But unfortunately, he gets his head taken off with a Lariato, followed by Buckle Bomb and a choke slam. And Lance Archer gave him a one-week ticket on the Helicoaster. Thank you for riding. And Lance Archer beats Angel Fashion. Angel Fashion, I give credit to him. He put on some effort. He tried to endure and try to take it to Lance Archer. It definitely taking him out of the knee was a smart move, but as soon as Lance regathered his vertical base, it was pretty much said and done. And one other thing to take away from this, as the solely alluded to on commentary by Jake Roberts, doesn't trust Sting, and he expects Sting to stay away from us and mind your own business. Well, there's one thing we know. The only thing that's for sure about Sting is, never mind. Anyway, good match though. Lance Archer continues to roll, and I always enjoyed Lance bringing his brutality. One of my favorite wrestlers, and one of my favorites in AEW. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go into further trios action as the Factory, Nick Camarado, and QT Marshall, and Aaron Solo with Anthony Ogogo in their corner. They took on the trio of Jake Logan, Rick Recon, and Risen. Or so I thought. It almost turned into a handicap match as Camarado gave QT his still throne to sit and watch basically 98% of this match while the crowd kept bellowing out, "You tapped out. You tapped out," because QT Marshall tapped out to Cody last week on Diamante. A very competitive match, I must say. Anyway, as this match went underway, Logan tried to put a little bit of offense in here as he finally got a hat tag to Risen after Aaron Solo actually, controlling the early going, but then a big corkscrew kick by Aaron Solo and a press slam follow up by, of course, the beast, Nick Camarado, literally throwing 1/3 of the opposite trio onto the other two, taking everybody out. This is basically when QT came in and the Factory made short work of these three, but basically set it up for QT. As QT basically came in off the hot tag, by the way, from Risen, who I gotta give Risen credit. He was definitely taking it to the Factory, but it was just too much to overcome, especially Nick Camarado is a freak. Just saying it right now. Camarado is a freak. Anyway, QT comes in, Diamond Cutter, and the Factory gets the win. And you would think QT might be satisfied with this, but honestly, it doesn't seem like he was, as, of course, QT afterwards, he literally comes in and locks in a figure 4 on Risen. Risen, no choice but to tap, it didn't matter, and literally just keep it applying there. It's clearly sending a message to Cody. I think he wants another match with Cody one-on-one as the crowd continued to bellow, "You tapped out, you tapped out." And while the Factory may have looked dominant here tonight in Dark, it doesn't change the results of last week's match. And of course, we know Anthony Gogo, who left Cody laying. I'm pretty sure Cody's going to have an announcement regarding that tomorrow, too. We'll talk more about that later. But again, Factory, they're a pretty effective duo, this group that QT Marshall has brought together. And poor Risen, I hope his ankle's okay. That looked nasty. Anyway, as we move on from there, all I can say is Nightmare Factory, or Nightmare Family versus the Factory, far from over. So we go backstage to a little bit of a selfie moment as Pretty Pictures, Cesar Bononi, and Pretty Peter Avalon, they basically try to share a moment. And then Ryan Nemeth comes in. There's just a bunch of, like, I guess, pretty talking here about, you know, how they are, like a Pretty Picture. And JD Drake is, of course, talking about basically Okay, what is this? This the pre-picture or is this pre-picture? Regardless, JD Drake, he's got other things to focus on. JD Drake, not pretty, gritty. I love his grittiness. And basically, they come together and they say, "Oh, this is the pretty picture. Pinky's in." What a weird group. I feel like there's still some things to figure out among these four. Maybe one in particular. Just saying. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go back into tag team action as the Varsity Blondes with now recent Nightmare Factory graduate. Congratulations to her. Julia Hart apparently has been paired now or has made a new alliance and friendship, it seems, with the Varsity Blondes. Literally, it seems like someone you would see out of a high school sitcom with these three. Of course, with the cheerleading background of Julia Hart, that's just the very first takeaway for me. But anyway, as Julia Hart was in their corner, the Varsity Blondes, they took on debuting team of Trayvon Jordan and Brandon Jordan, I think is his name. And these two, they brought a lot of energy in their debut and a lot of showboating in a way too. As Trayvon, the bigger of the two, he was first in the ring here and controlled the early going, showed a bit of his power until Griff Garrison basically took over. And literally we have tandem tag team control with Griff and Brian Pillman Jr. here. As one point, Griff literally taking Brandon to orbit, the small one, I might add, folks, literally with a boot to the face, turn him inside out. Good Lord. With a nice follow-up power slam by Brian Pillman Jr. But literally, it was, let me see here. It was Trayvon that was garnering a little bit of offense. There was some tag team communication, it seemed, out of the corners. The two were isolating Griff Garrison here for the bit of this match. And then it looked like when the fun was put to the side a little bit and they got serious, I noticed this look in Trayvon's eyes and I thought he's going to go for something big here, but it looked like at times they weren't sure what to do and they didn't capitalize when they should. As of course, we did get, of course, a tag in the grip. And then, of course, the Varsity Blondes, they do their finisher, the powerbomb with assist. And the Varsity Blondes get the win here against a very unique duo that I would like to see more of. Maybe less cartoony, like, animated showcasing and more of a physical detail, especially about Trayvon. But this was pretty fun. And again, Julia Hart just simply watched from ringside. They're just, I guess they're now in the trio thing. I imagine we're going to see more of this on BTE. Maybe they'll have their own segment. But anyway, the Varsity Blondes, of course, coming off that loss last week in the Tag Eliminator. Good bounce back win for them as they continue to roll. And I'm curious how this goes for Julia Hart and what she learns underneath Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, whether or not we know who Griff Garrison is. Anyway, good stuff. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go into women's action as Miss Willow Nightingale takes on Diamante as she continues to just move forward with her arm intact, thankfully, but also priced in a message to a certain alien. This was a pretty good back and forth. Of course, Nightingale, of course, was definitely the more dominant in physical stature and strength of the two, but Diamante, she, of course, came out from under. Willow did control Diamante in the early going, though, but a vicious Russian leg sweep and just clubbing away while bringing her down to her level. Diamante literally controlling Willow Nightingale for the early going with no smile. Always knows that in Diamante's matter, she just doesn't smile at all. It's just all attitude. Focus is just square, straight up in your face, smash mouth action. I'm going to hurt you. It helps her a lot. Ridiculous ripcord clothesline, though, put things into Nightingale's favor, and it looked like she was going for something big here as, of course, Diamante got out of her clutches with a little right to the eyes and finally set her up with the Casadora into the stunner as we get to the end of this match. Simple, short affair. Code Red gets the win for Diamante. She sends a message not only, I'm sure, to the rest of the women's locker room, but especially Chris Statlander. And she continues the role as she now basically, I think, has something that people are going to talk about her with this win and the message she said earlier. Good stuff. Diamante's always been one of my favorite standouts, 10-year veteran of the game. And I'm curious now when Diamante and Chris Statlander will cross paths. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go into singles action, high octane offense as well with top flight Dante Martin. He took on Aaron Fry, who took on his first singles match in AEW, as he's been only involved in a tag team. So kudos to him. And I tell you, this was a great back and forth action. There was a nice backstabber off a rebound of the ropes done by Aaron Fry, and Aaron Fry basically kept working the back, but there was moments where he didn't like, again, and I think this is just the inexperience, he wasn't like fully capitalizing every time where he could have. And eventually Dante Martin did get the better of him as he tries to go for this rebound backstabber again, misses. Dante Martin takes advantage, and literally Dante Martin, he gets some powerful offense out of the corner with the corner moonsault. He finally does looks like a rebound type of stunner move, sets up Aaron Fry in the drop zone for you know what, that beautiful 450 splash, and Dante Martin gets the win. I must say, Aaron Fry, he demonstrated a lot to me here in his first singles affair. He definitely has a potential. I felt like he needs to dig more into a deeper repertoire if all he was basically going for at this point was the backstabber. I understand he had a focal point work in the back, but he could have tackled it different ways. I mean, he could have just simply stomped it. He could have tried maybe a surfboard, but I thought that Aaron Fry looked pretty good here. And again, Dante Martin, while his partner is injured, Dante Martin continues to roll as a singles. That's another great win for him. Anyway, as we move on from there, we get Ashley. My ears. Guerrero first comes out, shuts up Justin Roberts, and introduces and demands people to cheer for her client, number 4 ranked in AEW Women's Division, Nyla Rose. As Nyla Rose took on Ashley D'Ambrose. And of course, Ashley D'Ambrose, again, she was the one that I would like to see more offense from, but unfortunately here, didn't so much see offense as I saw some interesting technical wrestling as she tried to escape Roman knuckle wrist lock from Nyla Rose. Looked like she was going to until Nyla Rose yanked her hair and dropped her on the ground, and it was all Nyla Rose from here. Nasty Bill at one point, follow-up cannonball from the center of the ring, so it wasn't as much momentum, but still effective. And then literally at this point, she's literally controlling Miss Ashley here. Finds her in the middle of the ring, brings her up after just literally just pounding her down, yanks her upwards into the beast bomb, emphatically planting her and ending Ashley's short outing here. And again, there's no kicking out of that once that beast bomb's hit. Ashley was done. I want to see more of what Ashley can bring. So now I've seen a little bit of a touch. She can have a little offense. I've seen now how she is very counterintuitive, especially in a test of strength. Now I want to see her bring all that together and try and bring a real fight to somebody. But of course, Nyla Rose, I mean, kind of got the hard end of the draw there when you're in the ring with her. But again, good try. Moving on from there, we go backstage where we find the Dark Order, of course, with Alex Marvez, where they talk about, of course, the upcoming match later tonight, the events that happened last week on AEW Revelation, and this continuing rivalry with the Hardy Family Office and the Dark Order. As it seems, first off, John Silver still can't wrestle, not medically cleared, but was absolutely effing furious with what happened. And you would not like John Silver when he's angry, and I can't wait for him to get back into the ring. As, of course, they think about, basically, the Dark Order talks about how we've been in battle with factions before. We know how to take factions down. We are that effective of a family. And we have had up to here with you, Matt Hardy. Last night, you crossed the line. And we might have to go into a darker side of us. We might have to unleash the dark side of the Dark Order, which I find a very interesting comment, especially since they haven't been that since, of course, this. But I'm curious what Alex Reynolds meant by that. And then, of course, we find Evil Uno speaking on behalf of number 10, Preston, who, of course, is going to be in action in singles later tonight. And basically, he talks about how Ted's been on an incredible roll with his win-loss record, recently coming off a great match against the TNT champion Darby Allin, nearly winning. And, of course, they say the plan is 10 as they look ahead towards what's to come, where Preston Vance takes on J.D. Drake later tonight. Some interesting stuff to think about across all the Dark Order, I tell you. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go back into tag action where I guess they got a new entrance. Cesar Bononi, I'm not talking about who we pulled out on that thing. This group. It's going to take me a little while to wrap my head around this. But then again, Pretty Peter Avalon in itself is somebody I'm like, okay. Anyway, Cesar Bononi and Brad Nemeth, they take on the duo of a team I've been very impressive with, Liam Gray and Adrian Lanis, who again, I think they show great potential and awesome tandem tag team offense. Anyway, here let me get my notes in order here. There was Liam Gray, who was garnering some good offense against Ryan Nemeth from there going until a blind tag by Cesar Bononi literally nearly decapitated the man with Cesar Bononi's arm, compared basically to a telephone pole. And Cesar Bononi basically controlled the match from here, as finally at one point Liam Gray was able to tag in Alanis, who basically got a rude awakening in the end, as Cesar Bononi and Ryan Nemeth, they control the match, they isolate the opponent, and even with a slight little weird distraction bit, it seemed, it didn't matter, because that rude awakening set up by Cesar Bononi for Ryan Nemeth allowed Ryan Nemeth to hit his finisher and shout all the way to Rick Rude, playing great. And of course, Nemeth Bononi, they get the win as he holds his dime store trophy. Probably wants to thank the Academy for this victory. If nothing else, Peter Avalon. Pretty picture. It's a unique name. It's a unique faction, but it's an effective team so far with Cesar Bononi and Ryan Nemeth. Again, tag team wrestling being the strong suit of AEW. And of course, the number one thing they always want to test and push and elevate and escalate. But again, Liam Gray and Alanis, I think they have great potential as a tag team too, but they just could not pull it together tonight. Took a couple of big moves, but those risks just didn't pay off. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go back into women's action as Julia Hart takes on the Galaxy's greatest alien and one member, of course, of the Best Friends, with the Best Friends in her corner, Chris Statlander. And of course, Julia Hart had her new best friends in her corner. But there wasn't much to say here. First off, boop, Bryce Remsburg, he got booped, and then he booped Chris Statlander back. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that. So maybe there's more to this connection between these two than I thought. Anyway, as Hart tries to go for a little bit of early offense, exercising her gymnastics background, she basically gets caught in a leapfrog and literally ends up being stuck in Statlander's arm, getting booped during it. And then later on, she gets out of that, she gets power slammed. Ridiculous torque and power on that scoop power slam by Statlander. My word. Anyway, as basically at this point, Julia Hart is basically dead to rights. She is hoisted and planted face first, and then basically picked up into a one arm, it seemed. Must be because she's just a much more smaller adversary. But anyway, bang! The Big Bang Theory, proven and effective, as Chris Statlander gets the win. Elmo meme all around, but damn the way that looked after being executed on Julia Hart. She got planted on her head. I hope she's okay from that. That was effective. And otherwise, I hope that's just a good selling. Of course, in the end, Elmo Mean pose in the middle, grab the bullhorn, mega horn, as Taz calls it, because that's what Julia Hart comes out with. You know, later Julia's ready. Okay, you got to give the people what they want. I wonder now if she's going to hold on to that bullhorn, or she's still trying to figure it out. Anyway, this was okay though, as I think Julia Hart, especially with her being with the Varsity Blondes, has great potential. And again, Chris Statlander, she continues to roll and currently is undefeated. And I feel like her and Diamante have a date to set up for once they make contact, some way, somehow. But I always enjoy Chris Statlander. Good stuff. Anyway, as we move on from there, Lucha Underground lives as, of course, Marty Casas, formerly known as Marty the Moth. He took on, and Taz, might as well be this generation's scat man, or just AEW's karaoke leader. He sings, of course, and I'm not singing, folks, sorry, Jungle Boy's Fiend, Jurassic Express's Fiend, basically, as Jungle Boy took on this man in one-on-one action. And literally, Marty controlled the early going here, and at one point, he teases us thinking that he's going to fly. Well, I guess moths don't fly, but Jungle Boy certainly does. As that bit of showboating bit Marty a little bit, as Jungle Boy was able to bounce back and literally fly on his own and take control here. Until Marty literally isolated Jungle Boy, and at one point, he got busted in his mouth, and literally had Jungle Boy dead to rights. He was going for some weird mandible claw type thing here. And basically, ridiculous momentum was brought back after Jungle Boy bounced off the ropes several times and nailed Marty with an effective clubbing blow. Then we got a nice near fall follow-up by Marty, though, as he traps Jungle Boy in a beautiful Northern Lights with a bridge. Kudos to him. But then he goes off for broke with a moonsault crash. Following that, Jungle Boy was able to, so fast, snap around him, speed up, go to the top rope, drops an elbow to the back of his head, and locks in his submission, of course, that snare trap, where Marty, of course, had no choice but to tap out. Jungle Boy wins, we get the music, and Taz basically sings his version. Apparently, he believes it's monkey life. You heard it here first. So this was a really good match. I'm glad they gave Marty another match in AEW. Hope to see more of him, and Jungle Boy, of course, and Jurassic Express. And one of the biggest standouts in AEW alone, Jungle Boy, continues to move forward and roll forward. We'll see what's next for him. I wonder if Arby actually sings any themes in AEW or even knows the words to Jungle Life. But I digress. Anyway, we move on from there into women's tag team match. Now, Swole, Big Swole, and the Red Velvet with Kylie King in their corner. Love this form of this trio, by the way. They take on the MK Twins. The MK Twins, they brought the fight tonight as Big Swole. And sorry, folks, I can't get the names for the life of me, but apparently you know which one's who because one wears red pants. Thank you, Excalibur. There was, at one point, Big Swole taking on one half of them, and really the MK Twins controlled they were going this match with a ridiculous headbutt to Big Swole's mixed section. Constant hot tags, working over Big Swole, top and bottom, effective kicks. And literally, these MK Twins, they were bringing out all the shots tonight. However, Big Swole was able to finally, and again, she's been through so much. So of course, she was able to push through this fight. She was able to hit one of her own kicks, finally tagging Red Velvet. And these two, basically, they took over from here. The Red Velvet coming in, stirring it up like a bat out of hell or an overinflated souffle, if you want me to put into dessert things. And these two came in with tandem offense. We had combo uppercuts in opposite corners to both of the Twins, and both executed their finishers. As Big Swole executed Dirty Dancing on one, the legal one, of course, was put down by the legal participant on the other team, the Red Velvet, with that spinning hook kick, of course, called Just Desserts. And the Red Velvet and Big Swole, they roll as a duo in this effective trio and get the win against the very game MK Twins. I must say, these two have very good chemistry, and both of them bring an equal portion of power and technical wrestling and attitude. And it's surprising me that at one point they didn't go for like twin magic. But again, I guess for one wearing pants, I don't think these wrestlers be as easily fooled compared to other situations I've seen in wrestling. But great stuff here overall by the MK Twins. As I always look at Dark, I look at who pushes themselves even more against the AEW signed talent, who is that bright future to really look forward to and follow in the continuation of the professional wrestling industry. And that's all I look at in wrestling. I just enjoy life, enjoy wrestling, and I look to see who could be the next great standouts. And I think the MK Twins definitely have that potential. As, of course, the Red Velvet, Kylie King, and Swole, they break it down afterwards to Red Velvet's music. So, good stuff all around. But you want to talk about great stuff, though. This match was awesome, as we're not getting pretty, we're getting gritty and hard-hitting, as JD Drake took it to Dark Order, Preston Vance. And these two went tit for tat, move for move, and it was JD Drake, actually, that was really controlling most of this match, being basically the more dominant of the two here. At one point, there was a nice swinging net breaker, followed up, of course, really with a ridiculous powerbomb offense, followed up with a nice kick with those boots that he wears. And there was a couple of times here where you thought JD Drake was going to get the win off a couple of nice falls. Following this, there was a combination sledge with a just falling headbutt for another effective, not pretty but gritty, near fall. Anyway, as Preston kept enduring and pushing through in this match, I must say he finally got basically the match in his control when JD Drake had him up the corner. JD Drake was on the upper level. Preston, however, he got the advantage, grabbing his adversary and power bombing him out of the corner. And then we had a nice combination of kicks and palm strikes from JD Drake, as JD Drake and Preston were basically exchanging offense here. At one point, it looked like that right now, if we wanted to get involved with the trophy, but JD Drake was having none of it. And of course, we try to have distraction galore by Avalon, who gets caught by Cesar Bononi. Might as well expect that now, pretty much, when it comes to pretty picture out in the ringside area. Peter Avalon, good Lord, man, ridiculous. And eventually, JD Drake, he gets caught as he was going in for a big offensive move. I think it was like a lariato. He got caught in that full Nelson and literally being ragdolled. And this is saying something by Preston, by the way. Incredible demonstration of strength when you think about how thick JD Drake is. I'm surprised JD Drake got so easily caught in that and couldn't get out of it. But that full Nelson fully locked in. It's like a master lock. You're in it, you can't get out of it. He literally ragdolled a man to sleep. And Preston Vance continues his ever-growing momentum forward in AEW per what Brody Lee saw in him when he made him part of the Dark Order and be that White Knight. This was a really impressive back and forth power affair by both of these men. JD Drake, definitely a guy that stands out on his own, and I love it. It's not pretty, it's gritty, it's effective, it's hard hitting, and you're in for one hell of a swelling afterwards too, based on the fight he brings you. Awesome stuff. I really enjoyed this match. Moving on from there, we go into tag team match next. Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela take on the Acclaim. And Max Caster might have given us his biggest moment of his AEW career tonight with the line he dropped and the actions he showed, breaking Taz and Excalibur on commentary. I'm not repeating what he said, and I'm not doing what he said either. Go watch it yourself. But basically, in the early going of this match, it was Max Caster and Joey Janela. Joey Janela looked on confused, and Sonny Kiss just basically blew off whatever Max Caster said. And literally in the early going, it was Max Caster being controlled by Joey Janela. As Joey Janela went to attacking Sonny Kiss, he basically said, "He's a good rapper, but Enzo's better." Damn! Burn! How you doing? Anyway, as Sonny Kiss comes in and takes control, Max Caster eventually he's able to attack Bowens after kicking the man after he does the split. I call it the split kick. Ouch. And following this match went all over the place. And I gotta admit, when I look at this match and the identity of these two teams, especially Max Caster, I knew it was going to be wild and unorthodox, but that was a hell of a competitive bout. Anyway, as we move on from there, there's a split sit out. Tell you, a lot of flexibility was showing up in this match. And Joey Janela, he goes all for broke, but it looks like he has a nasty landing on the stage. And pretty much from this point on, this match was fairly on the Acclaim's level as they took advantage of this. Or so it seemed Bowens was telling Max Caster to take advantage of this. I think Max Caster was confused at times because there's definitely moments with the Acclaim. They weren't sure what they were trying to do. They couldn't get on the same page. And that's where Sonny Kiss, who definitely had to fight more from under for this team, basically picked up things and got control here. As Joey Janela's knee was constantly being worked on, and everything included but not limited to a knee breaker and a dragon screw follow-up. Ouch! I still feel like dragon screw is one of the most nasty moves to take in all professional wrestling. And I could just tell that knee was just horribly hurting Joey Janela. But Joey Janela, being the crazy man he is, eventually, he does try to go to the top rope, and he makes it, while in the other corner, you have the opposition in the top rope too, and literally we find Janela and Caster dropping elbows on both their opponents' partners, and then the two collide in the middle of the ring. Everybody's down. These two are just laying it all into each other, letting it all out there on the ring. Mad respect. But eventually, a grounded cloverleaf combination with the mic drop to the back of the head, and that's all it wrote as the Acclaim got the win. A very competitive match with a hinder Joey Janela that basically was the real focal point here in the match and put the match in the Acclaim's favor. You gotta wonder, if Joey Janela did not take that nasty landing on the stage, would the result have been different here? Would the outlook of the match at that point been different here? As Sonny Kiss, I thought a couple points, I thought he had it here. But again, the Acclaim, they really not only own what they say, they prove it. They got the win here, so they keep rolling. But this was a really good competitive contest. I only hope that Joey Janela's knee is okay. Speaking of injuries, I do want to say a couple of things. Ricky Starks apparently has an injury. He will be out for a few months, looks like, in action. Hopefully won't require like any surgery. Apparently this was brought on after his match with Hangman Adam Page. Ouch. And apparently also, in case you haven't noticed, one half of our country is still out too, and they will be out for several months, but we're going to talk about the other half shortly. Anyway, I hope that Joey Janela's knee is okay, and congrats to the Acclaim on another win. You know, I gotta admit, the Acclaim growing on me. They're not really lame, and they got game. We'll see if they make their way to fame. Anyway, We move on from there in a real battle of heavyweights as who can stop the machine, Brian Cage, or the Path of Cage, however you want to look at it. Basically, it's Brian Cage versus one half of Bear Country. As Bear Bronson, who now is rolling alone as a singles, due to his partner being injured since that class that was portrayed as Godzilla vs. King Kong with Jurassic Express, his partner got injured during it. And apparently will be out for several months. Get well soon. Bear Bronson and Brian Cage clashed for the first time ever in singles action and really brought the fight to each other. As I must say, it really surprised me how much Bear Bronson controlled this match. Really took it to the machine, Brian Cage, making Taz even worry. At one point, literally sitting down on the man, concaving his chest. Ouch. And then literally the Bossman Slam gave the first real near fall of this match. I thought Bear Bronson literally won here. Follow up here, combination of offense by Bear Bronson, wailing in Brian Cage with an amount of ridiculous forearms. Brian Cage, of course, he pulls off a sleigh of strikes to the midsection. There's a kick, there's a spinning roundhouse kick, there's a nice uppercut, and then Bronson pretty much follows up with a backdrop driver. What a demonstration of strength here. As Bear Bronson, with one hell of a singles debut, he really was capitalizing on this too. Another nice near fall. Looks like he's going all for broke as we have Bear Bronson in the corner up on the ropes. Brian Cage escapes, traps his arm, and gives him a Chicky Nando's kick, and then plants the man face first off the electric chair into a nice near fall from the machine. Discus clothesline follow-up, and no, we're still going. It still is not over. But eventually, Brian Cage, he has had enough, falling a ridiculous deadlift powerbomb. And then you think this is it. No, he's going to make sure this is it. As, man, how strong is the machine, Brian Cage? You tell me. He lifts up Bear Bronson, hits him with a drill claw, and Brian Cage wins this heavyweight clash once and for all emphatically for Team Taz and FTW. 1, 2, 3. An absolute tremendous fight here in showing. In one of the toughest contests I've seen Brian Cage put through in recent memory on AEW. And I feel that Bear Bronson has tremendous potential as a top singles draw here in AEW. Maybe TNT title if we get what I think might happen tomorrow. Not that I'm predicting, but I digress. And again, it's one of those things where you have to change your outlook in a match and really change your game. I don't think he's a stranger to being in singles, but he's just been so used to being a tag partner. Now he has to, adapt. It's like Dante Martin, for example. And I know his partner eventually will be back soon. But I was thoroughly impressed by Bear Bronson. Honestly, when I think about people that aren't signing AEW that are standing out to me on these platforms, as far as Dark goes, he was the strongest standout tonight, bar none. What a match. Anyway, in our main event, we have Power versus Yoga, basically Power versus Speed. As the another member of Team Taz that can't compete, not Hook, but Powerhouse Will Hobbs. He takes on Mike Seidel in a battle of Power versus Yoga. And Mike Seidel, he tried, but after let's just say, what do you want to call it? A truck hit him basically with the running mid-section cross-body collision, flattening the guy. Jesus, I thought he was dead. Talk about impact, literally ran into a wall. Hobbs was basically making short work of this. He was going for town business, but kudos to Mike Seidel with a nice mid-range escape, a couple of kicks, and then literally he tries to run into Powerhouse Hobbs, who literally stands still and squashes him on contact and literally trashes the man. Finally hits town business, and I thought it would be a little bit of a longer affair, but it wasn't. Team Taz, not paid by the hour, folks. Literally, there was town business, and Powerhouse Will Hobbs makes short work of Mike Seidel. Explosive power showcase, incredible show of dominance by Team Taz here in this match alone. And it seemed like he wasn't done there, as Hook basically kind of egged him on too. Afterwards, of course, we have a short arm clothesline receipt by Powerhouse Will Hobbs. I guess he wanted a little more to showcase more. Until Matt Seidel came out for the sake of his brother to make sure that he's okay, and it looked like Hook and Hobbs were going to walk away, and which they did. But it seemed that, according to commentary, it's amazing how fast he goes from like jovial and calm and funny to angry and pissed off in your face. Taz basically, he sees that or claims that Matt Seidel is looking at him and says, "You better just keep walking and stop looking." But talk about a ridiculous, powerful assault. Yeesh. And that was the ending to tonight's AEWDARK. A fun 2-hour showcase where I'm glad Julia Hart looks like she's going to be a much more mainstream part of at least the Varsity Blondes and their continued run in AEW. I would like to see more what the MK Twins can bring. I feel they definitely can get a first win here. And I must say, Powerhouse Will Hobbs destroyed Mike Seidel. But the standout performance of me tonight was definitely Bear Bronson against Machine Brian Cage. And that probably was my favorite match here, next to Preston versus JD Drake. Some great stuff all around, some interesting moments, some interesting expressions of the belief to think about what could become on Dark or even Elevation. I'm curious where Diamante and Chris Statlander goes too. And that's all I have to say about that. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what's ahead tomorrow night on AEW Dynamite on a stacked show. And I know Wednesdays usually are stacked, but this is a stacked show. Good Lord. 3 title matches alone. Let me talk to you. First off, we got SCU going all or nothing tomorrow night against the Young Bucks. If they win, they become the tag champs, the original 2. If they lose, SCU is through. Period. With the fact that AEW has no history of a disqualification ending in a match, I expect this to be a very intense, thorough, competitive affair with these 2 teams that were really former friends and really are the pillars of the billion foundation that is tag team wrestling in AEW. With the Bucks and their new outlook and this all or nothing personal vision of Kazarian and Daniels, you gotta wonder, is this it for SCU? And what's waiting next for the Young Bucks, besides, I imagine, John Moxley and Kingston? This is going to be a hell of a match. It wouldn't surprise me this will be open tomorrow night, too. I think it should be. Also, we know that we will get words and interviews from Jade Cargill as we wonder if this business relationship is going to work out with smart Mark Sterling. I'm sure we'll get more on that tomorrow night. Cody will also have an announcement tomorrow regarding his double or nothing inclusion. I imagine it's going to be some sort of exhibition match, or what's he going to do? It wouldn't surprise me if it's happening at Go-Go if his ribs recovered, regardless of not. I feel that those 2 are on a destiny path for a one-on-one bout. And ultimately, I feel like we're going to get some sort of clash between Factory and Family, maybe at Double or Nothing 2 in their capacity. I know Dustin wants camaraderie. Anyway, we also know that Orange Cassidy will take on the Bastard Pac, where the winner will officially take on Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. So that is going to be an AEW Revolution rematch that I'm sure is going to surpass all previous expectations now that we know what Orange Cassidy can bring. And after that promo, I don't know. I think we got our match, folks. God help the internet. I can't wait to see it and the aftermath. We also know, of course, that tomorrow night, Miro will be taking on Darby Allin for the TNT title, whether he's 100% or not. Are we looking at our next TNT championship? Is there a different outlook ahead for the duel of Darby Allin and Sting? As we know, Scorpio Sky and Page, they'll be watching. And where does Lance and Jake fit into all of this? A lot of moving parts about this TNT title picture. It wouldn't surprise me if we have more so foreshadowing of Britt Baker and her confidence heading into her upcoming match at AEW Double or Nothing for the women's title. Maybe we'll finally get some more words from Sheeta. Interesting enough, there's no women matches announced for tomorrow night or segments besides the Jade Cargill thing. So I'm curious what they're doing to build the women's title match. And also, of course, we will have, and I hope this closes the show because this to me is my biggest draw tomorrow night, and I cannot wait for this. Oh, also the Pinnacle gets the coronation. Congratulations to them. But more importantly, Jon Moxley, Death Rider, the IWGP United States champion, will defend that very title tomorrow night against former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata. This is going to be an incredible match, as we have not seen Yuji Nagata on TNT or WCW basically since those days. This right here is a match that seemed to have been garnered respect until basically Nagata called Moxley a punk. Respect goes out the window as soon as that bell rings. Nothing's going to be thrown but fists. We will see if that never say die attitude holds up, or if Jon Moxley basically puts the man away with a paradigm shift, maybe 2. Or will Yuji Nagata claim an arm? In my opinion, this is the biggest thing to come out tomorrow night on AEW Dynamite. I cannot freaking wait. And that and so much more is to come tomorrow night, folks, on the craziest, wildest, most unpredictable 2 hours of pro wrestling you get every week with AEW Dynamite. That ends the weekly showcase of 3 straight days of AEW action. I cannot wait. But as far as tonight goes, AEW Dark, always a joy. Great stuff tonight too. What did you think about Dark tonight? What are you looking forward to? Who do you hope to see grow and elevate their game too? Maybe even get signed kind of game. Let me know in the comments down below, or it's easier just talk to me on Twitter because I know YouTube can be a pain in the ass. So if you want to know more about me, know this. I'm just a simple man and a lifelong fan of ... wrestling. So follow me on Twitter, NMFoster1916. Follow me on Instagram, NMFoster1916. And follow me on YouTube. Just look up NFoster1916 or youtube.com/C/NoFoster10 for all things wrestling. Shout out to AEW family on Twitter. We will be back with a special AEW open mic view that will give you all sorts of outlooks on our things in wrestling shortly coming to this channel too. Other content including not limited to continued coverage weekly, at least during the summer, I promise you, of AEW, Elevation, Dark, and Dynamite pay-per-views too. There'll be coverage potentially on NXT UK if it works out with my schedule. But if you want other coverage, then I suggest the Holly Christopher Mace for NWA, my friend CG and Teddy Turnbuckle for AEW live reactions and other stuff too, independent-wise like GCW. And also stay tuned for stuff on this channel for Impact Wrestling, where I might do a civil take over the Go Home show to Under Siege tomorrow night, or Thursday night, excuse me, watch. But also I definitely will be back with predictions for Under Siege, as I have a friendly wager with a good friend of mine too, regarding AEW and Impact Wrestling, and it all starts this weekend. And also, of course, support NoDQ for all your WWE stuff, because there's not all of it's horrible, you know, support wrestling, like I said. Stay tuned, there'll be predictions on that. I'll have predictions for them up for the NoDQ Galaxy, of course. I'm talking about WrestleMania Backlash. There might be a predictions video on that too. So much wrestling, never enough time. And of course, I will be eventually back once I find out what they're doing with Grand Slam. Honestly, I might just do a collapsed summary of everything that's happened since the freaking New Japan Cup, because that's how long it's been. We'll see what happens. But I definitely will be bringing back the NJPW talks, coverage, and civil takes too. As always, I like to close, folks. There are no winners, there are no losers, there are no betters. They're just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. So at the end of the day, support one another, respect each other, and just enjoy life and enjoy wrestling. Simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Hit the bell and let's go on this channel. Hit the subscribe button, help me keep growing this channel. And shout out, of course, to all 200 wives who've been with me on this fun YouTuber craze journey. It's not living anytime soon, even if a couple of you might be robots, because I know the internet is a cruel and bullying place too. I refuse to follow that. That's all I have to say for now. So of course, take care, enjoy life. Tomorrow's there guaranteed. Treasure fans, enjoy wrestling. There's more of it now than ever. Find some promotion, company, friend, rival, challenge, virtue, I dare you. That can make a fun, positive impact and connection with you too. And shout out to those I know that are actually trained to be wrestlers. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll definitely see you tomorrow night after AEW Dynamite. But as always, works ahead in the morning for me, and I got stuff to do. I must bid you all a fine adieu. In the immortal words of Kenny Omega, goodbye, mwah, and good night. And thanks again, as always, for tuning in to my civil takes on Dark, Elevation, and Dynamite. See you around. Bang.